Mississippi just spent nearly $30 million overhauling its youth court system.
But one senator tells 3 on Your Side not a single mental health facility is included in that plan. Darius McCormick has that story.
Mississippi just spent $29.5 million overhauling its youth court system. So, new detention facilities and a renovated Oakley Youth Development Center. But not a single dollar for mental health treatment. Right now, there's just 48 state psychiatric beds for its entire youth population, and juvenile outreach programs reach fewer than 20% of the state's 82 counties.
I think we should be finding places where we can place our youth to make sure that they get the best mental health evaluation that they can possibly get.
In 2024, nearly 10,000 Mississippi youth court referrals ended up formally in the court system. Trust Care psychiatric provider Samuel Dickinson says many of those kids needed a therapist, not a judge.
Every child deserves the opportunity to become the person they were meant to be. And the earlier we detect those issues and help them with that, the more they are able to become that person.
Dickinson says untreated mental health issues affect 5 areas of a child's life: growth, relationships, opportunities, well-being, and future success. Senator Barnett raised that same concern during last week's special session, arguing the state needs to invest in youth mental health, not just youth courts.
Make sure again that our youth is getting the proper mental health care that they need, then we'll see a reduction in our prison numbers.
Of the $29.5 million spent, $7.5 million goes towards diversion programs. Senator Barnett says he hopes some of that money eventually reaches mental health services for Mississippi's kids. Darius McCormick, 3 on Your Side.